Welcome to week 2. Sean's task for this week is that his manager's given him some calculations to do in Excel. Nikki, do you think that will end up scaring Sean?
Probably. No. The whole point of starting with the calculations is to put Sean's fears behind him. There's nothing to be scared of.
Yep.
We're going to start very slowly, nice small steps, building it up, getting quite comfortable with how calculations work.
Good.
The other thing is, I want our learners to get as much practice as possible, because really anything becomes easy if you've had enough practice.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, while some people might be thinking, oh, calculations, I don't need those, really to be a competent Excel user, you have to know the basics. And once you've mastered those basics, once you've got the critical core of how it actually works, the rest becomes easy. You can build on that knowledge and start doing some of the more complicated things if your job demands it.
And for our learners, how will we break it down this week?
Good question. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a very basic video on working with formulas. The idea is to just get used to the language of Excel. So simple numbers, simple calculations. Once we're good with that, we're going to move on to the next step, which is applying those skills to real business problems. So slightly more complicated, but not difficult.
Yep.
And then once everybody's feeling good about formulas, we're going to start looking at functions, and we're going to start with the sum function.
Okay. You mentioned two things, formulas and functions. They sound the same to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I am the worst for getting those terms interchanged, but actually there is a little bit of a difference. So a formula is a calculation. It always starts with an equals sign. And when we want to use really simple calculations in Excel, it's much like we would do on a calculator. You can just say this times that or this subtract that. The problem is when you want to start working with very complex calculations or thousands of numbers, to sit there typing it all in isn't feasible. So instead, Excel has given us an option to use something called a function. And a function is like a little miniature program that does the work for you.
Yep.
So it actually makes life easier.
So whenever we want Excel to perform a calculation for us, we need to use the equal sign. A basic formula would be like adding 4 cells. Equals B4 plus C4 plus D4 plus E4. That's a simple calculation. But if we wanted to add up 400 cells, that's going to be quite inefficient. So Excel has functions that it will help us. An equal sign followed by a few capital letters, such as SUM for the sum function, open brackets followed by a cell reference. In this case, the cell reference would be B4 colon E4, and then we close the brackets. The colon tells Excel that this is a range of data, all the way from B4 to E4.
Absolutely spot on. You've described it perfectly.
Okay, but the problem is there are about 500 of those, Nikki. What are we going to do next?
Well, we're not going to do all of them.
Okay.
But we are going to look at 3 of the ones that are most useful.
Okay.
And once you start, working with 3 or 4,
Sure.
the rest all become a lot easier because they all follow a very similar pattern.
Okay. And does that include that dollar thingy that we have to put in sometimes when we have specific functions and formulas?
A dollar thingy, good technical term. What you mean is absolute cell references.
Okay.
Absolutely, we do definitely need to look at that, but that's getting a little bit trickier. So
Okay.
I think what we should do is give our learners a chance to work through videos 1 through 4,
Sure.
and then we'll come back and explain the dollar thingy in a bit more detail.
So you've heard it now. Nikki suggests there are 4 practice videos for you to work through. Make sure you download the Excel files, and you're going to work alongside Nikki with those 4 practice videos. And then you're going to practice them by yourself as well. Then we'll come back to you and break down the dollar thingy, absolute cell referencing for you. So we'll get back to you soon, but now it's over to you to practice.